Hello everybody, this is Havoc and welcome back to Manor Lords in our tutorial for absolute beginners. In the very first episode, we went over our basics, our settings, starting a new game and what that means, the parameters of starting a new game, and the basic user interface and all of the things therein on this kind of main screen that you'll be hanging out with for 99% of the game. Now there is one thing that I didn't mention though, and I do want to mention it very quickly before we move on, and that is the visit mode. This game has a third-person cosmetic only mode that allows you to walk around as a lord, as a single model, regardless of your portrait, and to have fun with it. Now, it's a super fun feature that we'll be going into repeatedly as we go in, but I just wanted to throw that out there, that that's all we have in that selection. Now, today's episode, we are going to go over all of these icons and what they mean. We are going to start our village, and I do want to do a caveat here. There is no, well, I won't say there isn't no wrong way. There is a definite wrong way to start your village, but in terms of build order and stuff, there are some minutia in which you can do something right or wrong. So this solution that I am proposing is what I typically do in the 60, 70, upwards of 80 hours of gameplay. Doesn't mean you have to do it exactly like this, but at least follow the idea and the philosophy behind what I'm doing. So we are going to start our village today. I have no idea how far we're going to get, but I'm excited nonetheless. So what we are going to start with, we have to understand our region in order to know what we are going to do and the order in which we are going to do it. So we're going to hit M to go to map, and this gives us the entire map overview. Now there are 9 regions, right? 8 regions. There are 8 regions in the map currently. We occupy one of the largest spaces naturally, and the AI lord that we go up against, who cannot build right now, but it acts as an outside force, controls 2 of them. Now you can see there are a bunch of little icons throughout the map. This gives us an idea on what sort of resources there are in the game. Currently there are only 5. We have berries, we have wild animals, clay, iron, and stone. Now your berry deposits and your wild animals, these are regenerative resources, meaning that as long as the environment is still there, i.e. you have woods over here, woods over there, as long as those don't get completely destroyed, they will come back. Now I will caveat with this, that wild animals, you can overexploit them. You can always harvest berry deposits down to 0. If you harvest wild animals down to 0, they won't come back. So you kind of have to be mindful of that. You have to be thinking of what you want to do and how you want to take care of these, because they will be an infinite resource if you take care of them well. Now berry deposits are unique because they can be used for multiple things. Berries can be harvested for food, and they can also be turned into dyes for clothing. So you want to keep that in mind. It's a really good idea to protect them. Wild animals also provide meat, and they provide hides. Hides are the basic necessity resource for leather, which is your basic clothing goods that you could pretty much make right off the bat. And you'll need those to level up your houses. So it's definitely something we want to invest in, but we're not going to invest in it yet. And I'll let you know that why in just a little bit. The next resource we're going to look over here is an iron deposit. Iron is harvested to make iron slabs. I think that's technically what it's called, but blocks of iron that you can then use to make tools or develop weapons with. Super awesome, as well as armor, if I remember correctly. You have clay. Clay is used to make tiles, which you can then use to level up your houses or export them with. And then we also have stone. Stone is used for buildings naturally, and that's pretty much it. Now, we're not done quite yet, because both iron and clay deposits are what I would call a semi-regenerative resource, and that is only on the condition that it is a rich deposit. So you'll notice here that this iron deposit only has 150 iron to harvest before it is gone from the region. That does not come back. There's nothing you can do about it. However, we have a rich clay deposit, and that means that if we were to go into our research and go under deep mining, we could turn this clay deposit into an infinite resource. So I'm going to go here real quick. We're going to go into our tutorial town down here, and you'll have to use 2 development points to get to it. But if you go down to deep mining, you can upgrade that deep mine, which makes it indefinite. So not only do you have a vastly large amount already, but you could turn that into something more. Now with this in mind, I want to take a look over here at what is this? What is this region? Selbits. You'll notice that Selbits has a rich iron deposit. And in fact, it has the AI Lord has 2 of the 3 rich iron deposits. That means if we took Selbits over, we could have an unlimited supply of iron that we could use to fuel our army, to fuel our trade, and do lots of good stuff with. So being mindful of that, this is where we'll want to expand the sooner the better. When we can take on the AI Lord, we definitely want to do that. Now you'll notice here that we have a rich stone deposit, and we also have a rich wild animals, and we have a rich berry deposit. In this instance, this just gives you a significantly more that you can pull from, but there's nothing that can make it indefinite. Now, mind you, wild animals and berries are indefinite resources as long as you preserve them and be a little more conservative in how you exploit them. But a rich stone deposit does nothing. Once it's gone, and that's just how it is. So we only have 180, it'll go away. 152, it'll go away. Now, why is this important? Why do we need to know this, and where do we start building first? How do we figure all that out? Well, for one, you do want to get things going rather quickly. So you do want to build close. So we're going to start our region here. We have a lot of good resources to start very closely. But, and this is just personal for me, this is my personal strategy, I like building several small communities. So for instance, what we're going to want to do here is we are going to want to get close to berries, but soon we're going to want to harvest iron. And then we also want to get on the wild animals thing sooner rather than later. So I'm going to build a small community here with a few houses, because we'll build our logging camp and stuff here too. And then I'll expand and I'll build a couple of houses here to cater to my iron deposits. Build a few houses here once we're ready for clay. A few houses over here to take care of the wild animals. And so rather than go city skylines, for instance, and build everything right here close and just have them walk everywhere, I'm going to build small micro communities, and I'm going to have their jobs, because you can force a villager, depending on their house, to go to any certain job. So I want them in close proximity so they can do their job more effectively. I don't want someone living here and having to walk and work a wild animal thing all the way over there. It just doesn't feel effective to me, and it would definitely, in my opinion, affect a lot of things. Now, with that out of the way, let's go ahead and take a look at our 3 starting things before we get building. 1, you have a homeless people's tent. This is literally just 3 tents where 5 people live. I guess technically 10 people live. It's not very comfy. It's going to cause some disapproval, and we need to get them into houses as quickly as we can. Now, if you're playing in like a hardcore mode, you may want to go ahead and upgrade to a worker camp. Provides crude living space for 5 families. Now, this will decrease disapproval, but it will remove the homelessness aspect. So it's kind of a catch-22 depending on what you want to do. If you're playing a more hardcore mode where maybe you don't have as many resources, this would be a great start, but I don't recommend doing it if you're just playing normally, because you'll definitely be able to build enough houses pretty quickly to not worry about anything like that. We have our hitching post. Our hitching post is where our ox resides. We do have a name for the ox, I think. Albric. Perfect. Nope, that's not him. I think it was Herman. Yeah, Herman the ox. Awesome. Now, one of my strategies that I do right off the bat when we first start building is I do build another hitching post. You'll see right now it's already full, so I have to build another one to order another ox. And that way we have 2 ox pulling resources either to construction sites or a dedicated one for lumberjacks to be able to focus on that. It's a really great starting strategy if you want to kind of get ahead and make sure that your buildings get built effectively so resources aren't being wasted. Our last bit is some supplies over here. You'll see we have 20 bread, 20 firewood, 20 stone, and 10 tools. What we want to do, your bread and your firewood will start degenerating once it starts raining. So we want to build storage buildings very quickly. Those will be among the first sets of buildings that we build. We'll build the granary because food is a little more important than we have to worry about fuel. Fuel is important, don't get me wrong, but it's when we get to winter that we want to make sure that we have a good supply. Now with that out of the way, what are we going to build first? Well, we're going to start with our roads. So you can either hit R or you can click the road button. And we are going to go a little more organic just in our approach total. Because I do love how organic you can make things look. I'm not going to lie. So what we're going to do, we're going to stick to this outside road space. We're going to go just kind of hug the tree line. And I do have some plans that we're going to approach for this. There we go. Simple enough. Easy road. And what are we going to build first? Well, I would like to get logging production started right off the bat. So we are going to build a logging camp because we do need that to build additional houses and whatnot. So we're going to go here. Simple enough. Easy peasy. Now what we are also going to do is we are going to set the priority to the next highest, very high. We are going to get another hitching post, and we're going to place it right next to the logging camp as well. And we're going to set that to highest. So it's going to build the hitching post first, then the logging camp, and then anything else afterwards. Now again, I want to prioritize bread to make sure it doesn't get disintegrated. So we're going to go ahead and build a granary, and we're going to build it right next to where we're going to do our main food production. You can do whatever you want to. It doesn't truly matter, in my opinion, but we're going to set that to high. So we got our construction priority. You can see what goods it's going to take. All is well and good there. We're going to work on a forager hut, and I'm going to place that forager hut just right next to this. We can even place it right across the street. That works for me. That'll be medium. We'll make sure it goes whenever it's there. And then if you hover over, we see we only have 2 timber left, which means we only have space for 1 burgage plot. Your burgage plots are, again, your houses. And these are part of the flexible plots within the game. You have burgage plots, which are flexible. Marketplaces are flexible. And I believe fields and pastures. Those may be the only flexible plots in the game. If I remember correctly, I do believe that is true. So a flexible plot simply means that you have to lay down 4 different points in order to complete the plot. In this instance, we are simply going to drag. Actually, I'm going to tell that's already too big, but we'll do, yeah, we'll do a big one. Nope. So you're going to literally click. You're going to lay down your second point. You're going to lay down your third point, and you're going to lay down your 4th point. Now you can still lay down this point. You see, we don't have enough goods. We only have 2 timber. This is going to build 2 houses, which means it would cost 4 timber. You cannot future build, if that makes sense. There we go, we're saving. So I would not be able to lay this down and they would build it in the future. We have to have the resources on hand in order to build. Now there are 2 things we're going to look at real quick. One, we could determine that this is our side, our front side, if we wanted to. In which case that turns into 7 tiny houses. We don't want that anyways, and I'll tell you why in just a minute. But we could flip it over here, where the road is right there. We're actually a little bit too close. Hold on real quick. We don't want to be too close to those berries. There we go. We could place the road back here, where that's the front side. And again, we could go on the other side. But we're going to do this side because we're right here at the front. But we also have this little button here. And that is, we can reduce the amount of divisions in the plot. There we go. And now you see, we only have 1 burgage plot, which we could build. But we have 2 extensions that we're dealing with here. The first extension is a backyard extension. This backyard extension allows us to build either a vegetable plot chicken coop, or goats. Now your veggie plot, now it does say this now, it didn't in the old one, so I'm still gonna say it. The larger the veggie plots, the more veggies it will produce. So that's a really good starting strategy for your game, is to always go with veggies for the first, I don't know, 3 or 4 houses, so that you have a lot of food that is being passively generated. Your chicken coops and your goat pens, chickens make eggs, goats make hides. Those are a simple base passive, no matter how big or how small. So what I always say is, in the beginning, go ahead and make some large plots with some chicken coops, and then, or with some vegetable gardens, excuse me. And then you can make some smaller ones that have just small backyard extensions, and make those with eggs and those with hides, or, you know, chickens and goats. Your other extension is right here. And this is literally just a housing extension. This will allow you to import, literally, like have space for another family. And I love doing this in the beginning, especially with vegetable gardens, because then it means that there are 2 families working a vegetable garden, which produces more veggies. It's a great starting strategy that has worked for me every single time. So we are going to go ahead and plant this, and they are going to start building that house. You'll notice that we have no timber left, so there is nothing else to do. Now, for the sake, we are going to just pop a road here. We can always decrease it or remove it in the future, but this just gives our hitching posts and our oxen just a pathway. Now, there's not much else that we can do at all. We have to let this build up because we don't have any more materials to build. There's nothing I can do. So what we're going to do is we're going to do it in super fast mode, and you're going to see this get built up nice and easy, or I guess nice and quick. And I'm super excited. You're going to hit Control C to hit cinematic mode. This gives you a very cinematic feel over everything, and it does automatically start the game, even in pause mode. And so we're going to go in super fast speed so you can see how fun this is. All right, super cool. I love cinematic mode. So we're going to pause the game real quick again. We have a new message. I've heard of your renown. I only seek to defend my rights and my honor against those who would wrong me. Hope you'll not judge me by the rumors and slanders that some spread about me, signed and sealed by my own seal, Hiddenbolt von Bernu. So this is simply the AI Lord, a little bit of fun conversation there. We're not going to worry about it because it doesn't really matter to gameplay right now. But all of our houses have been built, or all of our buildings have been built, rather. And I've gone ahead and done a couple of things. One, we've assigned 2 people to the logging camp. We're going to hover over this for a minute to give you a breakdown on what that means. So we have 2 people. You can tell they've already started cutting down a lot of timber. Super awesome. So you can see you can employ assigned families, unassigned families, and the log storage. Currently, this is the only place where timber is stored. It does not go into a warehouse or anything of that nature. It simply remains here. You click on people. This shows you all the people that are working there. And it is, again, entire families, possibly. So we can show that they live in this house. We can click on them. We can see we have a husband and son. The wives will come in a little bit. We can show the workplace in which they work in. And we can assign them to a different workplace. Now, why is this important? This is what I mentioned before. So we have a home here. Now, admittedly, they aren't walking very far at all. They're not walking far, not one bit. Also, by the way, you can rename these people. We're going to rename them Nexus and Radis, 2 largest supporters on the channel. Thank you, gentlemen, very much. But we can also reassign them to something a little closer to home, such as the Forager Hut. There we go. So now these guys literally have to walk next door, and that's it. So we're going to do that. We're going to go ahead and redeploy someone else there. So you have your people there. We can keep this in mind, and that's why I said I like to build micro communities. I'm going to build a couple of houses here for our industrial area because it will allow me to reassign them right next door, and it just makes things more efficient. We also have advanced. So this is awesome because, one, we're connected to the road network, but we also have an unlimited working area. So that means they will literally harvest As long as there are trees close by, they will harvest them. Now, we don't want that because our berry deposit could get wrecked. We don't want to be wrecked. So instead, what we can do is we can limit a work area. And you'll notice right now that's not it's not a very big area, but we can change that. But where do we want to work on where do we want the work area? For me right here, I love this section right here. This is a large hill, kind of on an elevated plane above all the rest. I do want to urbanize to some extent in the future, and I think this little hill right here is a great place to kind of put in Snobbyville, if you want to call it that. And so what we are going to do, if you hold down Control and do your middle mouse button, we are going to go right here. And so they will only work that area and nothing outside of it. You can do the same thing for your woodcutters to make firewood, excuse me. You can also do that for your forager hut, as you can see right here. Now, admittedly, I mean, you're only going to go and harvest the berries. There's only one berry deposit per, so that's a little unnecessary for the forager hut, but it is what it is. We're not done with the logging camp, though. We've set our work area, and you can now see that it says limited work area. What we could finally do is assign a permanent livestock. So that means that even though there are still hitching posts that we have to consider and worry about, we could permanently assign an ox where their only job is to haul timber. Now, this is a good thing to do if you can afford it in the future and you have lots of hitching posts, or you make the little stable, upgrade to a small stable. I recommend doing this for your logging camp, for your woodcutters especially, because there is currently a functionality where the ox is kind of a necessary thing to drag wood to the fire, or the firewood and the saw pit. Actually, there's lots of things that require oxen, and so if you have the money to do so, I recommend doing it. Now, for the early game, not super necessary. We're more concerned about building things than we are about prioritizing. Now, over here, our Burgage plot. Now, this is your basic outlook on every single house you will ever build in the game, with certain caveats. For one, if you do have an expandable living space, that's what this will look like, and you can expand it to double the maximum number of families. Now, what we want to do here, this is our backyard extension and our artisan extension when we level up. You can see right now we have a vegetable garden, we have a chicken coop, and we have hides, or goats to make hides. We are going to go with the vegetable garden because, one, it is cheaper. We can do 2 vegetable garden plots before we run out of money, so we're definitely going to do that. And you can see that construction has already started, and it turns into a nice, lovely garden that they will literally start plowing. In fact, if we did this, you would be able to start seeing that as I talk through the rest of what this Burgage plot means. So we are going to go ahead and expand the living space as well. We're not going to worry about the other ruler's army. That's not a necessity. But you can see that they are actually working the Burgage plot and the vegetable garden behind them. Now, your Burgage plots have certain requirements that they need in order to level up. Oh, and in fact, hold on real quick. We're just going to do that. I'll come back to that in a second. But they have amenities that they need. Right now, it's simply just water access and a church level. So we need to build a well anywhere on the region in order to satiate that. Well, we will kind of stick to a reality situation. And we need to build a wooden church, so that'll come in time. We do need to invest in a marketplace very soon. So that way we can start getting fuel, food, 2 types of food, and even basic clothing. So once all of those are fulfilled, we can upgrade to a level 2. Ooh, we got a nasty storm. And that will allow us all the good things. Now, armaments, this is not a necessity to level up. However, your militia are literally recruited from your population, and thus they will need to be armed. So if you have militia troops inside of a Burgage plot, this will let you know what they have. Simple as that. It's not a requirement to level up, but it is going to let you know that, hey, you have guys in here with 4 warbows. I just want to let you know that, just in case you need to know. Going over to general, we can see that the house is refueled. They are starting to use up the firewood, and because they have a vegetable plot, they have a generic storage and a pantry feature. Then also we see the residing families. So once again, There's Nexus, heading out to go pick some berries in the rain. Congratulations, sir. You can see that Radis is currently plowing and sowing, and Grithlin is resting at home. Good for her. And we can again show the workplace and then reassign the family as needed. Now, our granary, just so you know, does have to be employed in order for goods to be actively stored there. You can see right here, he's loading all of that up. Thank you very much, sir. I appreciate it. Oh, good. That was the last of the bread, too, so we won't have to worry about that. And he's going to bring it over to the granary. And that's going to be all well and good in the neighborhood. We're going to go ahead and build our storehouse. We're going to build our storehouse over here because it is going to be part of our little industrial sector. And it'll get built rather quickly. All will be good there. Now, one of the things we do have to keep mind of is, one, our approval is going down. We have still are suffering from homelessness because we have 3 people who are homeless. That's just how it's going to be for the time being. Not going to be super bad. We will get into it. We will get it fixed rather quickly. But we also, again, need 3 more things. So what we could do is we could build 2 more Burgage plots that are large enough to where they can have the backyard extensions. And in fact, that is what we are going to do. We're going to be a little heavier over here on the industrial side. So I'm going to build a space for 2 big plots. And again, we're going to dig deep in the backyard extension. And again, we don't have enough for 3 plots. We don't need 3. We need 2. And you can see here, that's a little tighter than it is over here. But we have a backyard extension, and we have a housing extension for both. So we're going to go ahead and plot that as well. We're going to make this the priority. Saving finished. All is well. And then, again, we're going to let this kind of run as it should, and we'll be good. Now, the one thing we have to consider is that even though when building these 2 plots and building the extensions, it will house everyone, in order to level up and get our armaments, because we do have an armament thing, and I do want to focus on getting this brigand dude taken care of rather quickly for multiple reasons. We have, oh, we were already over here. We do have to have 5 actual Burgage plots. So with building this and the backyard extensions and the side extensions, we will only have 3 Burgage plots. So we will need to construct more. Now that's happening quickly, so it's not like this is going to be a process or anything of an issue, but we are going to be able to do that. Now we do have all the food supplies, correct? We do. So what I typically do, I wait until they get all the supplies, and then I say, hey, we don't need anyone in the granary for now. That's going to allow me another person to then go in and use that other oxen. So we now have 2 oxen working on bringing supplies where they need to, and they are good. So we're going to go ahead and build 2 small plots here. Actually, should we build right next to them? I'm kind of wondering if we shouldn't build right next to them, or if we should build across. Let's go ahead and build across. And we only need small backyard extensions for this, because we're going to do like hides and stuff like that. We're just going to go right here, and we're going to build. I'm very picky about how my houses look. Apologize in advance. You can be as picky or as non-picky as you want to be. Okay, I am kind of soft locked to not a super straight one. That's okay. Right. So what we're going to do is we are going to only upgrade one of these to take advantage of our last vegetable garden area. And then we're going to let all of these finish first. Storehouse, we're going to be okay with not employing anyone for the time being. Or we can take one out, put one there, and we're all still good. Now I am going to let these build up for a minute. I'm going to go in super fast mode. Oh, I just love this. I would love to just sit here and let this play in 1 speed, but that wouldn't be too exciting for you guys. All right, fantastic. Now, a few things have happened here. For one, the AI army is prowling about, but they aren't going to do anything negative towards us. So we don't have to worry about that until we claim a region that's theirs. We'll get there in probably by the end of this tutorial series, but no worries on that front. Now, as for this, a strong militia is paramount to the survival of any settlement. Luckily, a shipment of weapons has just arrived. You'll now be able to create your first militia banners to serve you and protect your people. However, we need more weapons to equip all the people as the settlement grows by making them or importing them from other lands. Indeed. So now we no longer suffer from homelessness, although we do see the effects from the previous 30 days and now the most recent 30 days. Basically, approval the way it rocks. If you missed the first part or whatever, below 25%, your people will start leaving, actively leaving. Above 50%, you will see one family come in per month, per region. And above 75%, you will see 2 families a month come in per region. So we definitely want to get it above the 50 mark so they start actively coming in, but it will take a month or 2 before that happens. Now what we're going to do here, I'm going to go ahead and build a vegetable garden, and we are going to expand that one to take advantage of it. We have no more money, so we cannot take advantage of any of the backyard extensions, but we could certainly take advantage of the other expansion. Now, one of the things we're going to go ahead and do, oh, this is perfect. This is perfect. We're going to go ahead and build a well. We need a well to satiate your basic amenity levels, and you can build one well anywhere you want per region. We're simply going to build it there. Now we're going to let that roll. And you can also see now, I'm going to move this hitching post. Yeah, I think we'll move it right over there. It'll be all well and good. They will simply rebuild and that ox will then go over there. That means I can hold down Alt and I can remove this road and we're good on that front. Very nice. You can see, oh my word, they're working the fields. They're working their backyard extension to make lots of delicious veggies for the populace to consume. I absolutely love it. And now that we have that guy, awesome. We have someone could go there, or we could start working on other things. We have 6 timber. That's quite a bit. So a couple of things here. I like to raise my militia as soon as possible. And so you see our military shipment was 20 spears and 20 large shields. So we're going to head down to our army. We're going to recruit a new unit, and we are going to get a new spear militia. Now, this is definitely what you want to do. It's what you have to do because you don't have pole arms and you don't have footman material. So you need to go with the spear militia. I know it's not super obvious, but that's what we need to do. And you also see in parentheses that says TutorialTown. If we were to expand over here into whatever region this is, Ruth, and we were to recruit, it would say, so you go right there. It would be recruited from Ruth. What I recommend is to, at least in the starting, you may have all of your militia in one territory. I highly recommend as you expand to have at least one militia in each territory. It's complicated, but oh man, they went ahead and took that bandit camp. Yeah, we definitely need to get a move on with the bandit camps. So we're going to build spear militia. And you can see right now we only have 10, so we're going to wait for our population to increase. Now, the reason we want to do this is because if we are to take on a bandit camp, which currently will have 16 troops in it, and we were to pillage the bandit camp, we can bring in money into our regional wealth, and that will allow us to then purchase goods. It's an early money-making strategy that's kind of nice and optimized for myself, which allows me to jumpstart my chicken coops and my goat sheds, maybe jumpstart some trade. And speaking of trade, we did level up. We are now a small village. And as a result, we need to have another house. We do have 5 burgage plots, do we not? We have 5 burgage plots. Maybe because that one's being built currently. I'm gonna wait and see just real quick. I think that's what it means. I think we're okay. But we need 2 level 2 burgage plots. So we need to upgrade. And that's going to be real simple once we start getting all the access to the things. We're going to build a marketplace in just a minute. But you'll notice, yep, he's all over the place. We have a development point for TutorialTown. And this is where we need to figure out what to do. So before I get to here, I just want to let you know this is where you need to do it. There's something else we got to check. And that is looking and seeing what things we have. So we do have the clay deposit, which means we could go down into a deep mine. And in fact, we will get there eventually. I'm going to tell you right now, we're going to go into that deep mine to be able to use that clay deposit to make lots of good things and to be able to utilize that for trade and building materials. However, we also need to look at the fertility level of our region. Now, again, it's rainy, so this is why you're seeing a little bit foggy. Oh my word, that was a gorgeous thing. But anytime you go into, I think really any of these tabs, once you start building, you'll see that you have a bunch of overlays. And so in this instance, this is no overlay. You can see your underground water if you are limited in your well placement. And then you have a whole bunch of different fertility levels. Emmer is essentially wheat that can be harvested, I think, multiple times a year, depending on how you have it set up. And you can see here, oh my word, I'm trying to get zoomed out a little more. Apologies. Emmer is fertile in the entire region. And not only that, it is not very fertile in all of the areas around us. Super good right here. Flax is also very fertile in not as many areas, but still in a lot. And barley is the same. Rye is a lot harder, more hardy resource. But again, you can see right here, this is the perfect starting region for agriculture. So we are going to want to lean into agriculture. So with that in mind, we're not going to be able to get agriculture off the ground very quickly or soon. So what we could totally do. Now remember, we only have 6 development points. We could go into charcoal burning to deep mining. That's 2 points. We could go into heavy plow, bakeries. That would be 4. And then possibly like orchardry and irrigation, which would be 6. Or we could go down into deep mining. We could go into trade, which means that all trade routes in the region cost a maximum of 25 regional wealth. It's such a difficult thing because I want to go into agriculture. We have to go into deep mining though as well. But if we don't go into, if we do this and we do these, we're very limited in the selection that we have here. Now, admittedly, rye cultivation, we don't need that necessarily because Emmer is so fertile that we wouldn't need it. But we do want an orchardry. Do we care about irrigation and droughts? Do we? We could do fertilization, which means that we could invest in our pastures and we could allow sheep to fertilize our areas. I think we have to forego trade logistics in this instance. And I think we have to go down into deep mining first and then go into heavy plow, fertilization, orchardry, and bakeries. Now that's a very advanced way of thinking. You have to be kind of mindful of your region's resources to know what development path you want to go. So I'm not saying this is the correct way to do it. This is my way based on what I played in the game. Simple as that. So we're going to do charcoal burning at first, which is going to let us be able to turn firewood into charcoal, which also will help with our fuel things in the beginning. All right, so we have that going. We have our well, which is under construction. And now we need to work on a marketplace. We are going to centralize this marketplace, and we're going to have some fun with it. We go down into our residential in our marketplace, and you'll see provide space for assigned families to set up their stalls and distribute their produce. Healthy supply and demand of goods is needed to fill residential requirements and make approval work well. So what we're going to do, we are going to, you know what we're going to do? We're going to work around the well here. And I'm wondering if we don't just leave it at something like this. Now, what I will say is that, at least for the time being, a giant marketplace is not going to be beneficial for you. There's no reason for it, unless you just really like the cosmetic look of a large marketplace. I feel like even this is a little too big. But I do really like the idea of, let's see, how many is that? That's 6 locations. I don't know why 10 is there, even though it's less of a space. That's going to look real weird. But you know what? I don't care. That's fine. So this is going to allow your other people, your other families, because you, again, you have a family working things, right? Correct. And so what that means is that this logging camp, their family is going to do all sorts of things. So now we have a husband, son, and a wife. Odds are the wife is going to go set up a stall here now. Actually, that's not true. Not for the logging camp. Apologies. For like the forager's hut or the granary, if we were to assign someone. Let's go ahead and assign someone. They are going to set up a stall. We're going to build We're going to start advancing, and we're going to build a woodcutter's hut so we can start making fuel. And that woodcutter's family is going to then go and set up a stall in the marketplace. Do you see how things are going to rock and roll? And it's all great. There we go. So we're going to go ahead and expand these. We're going to let this build up, and we're going to see how things kind of evolve. We have our well as well. So that should satiate the water access. Great. I love it. Water access is good here too. All right, a little bit of rainy weather, but we do need more people in before we can take anything else on. So all of those extensions have been built. We now have space for lots of families. We actually have a lot of space for a lot of families. And now we only have one unassigned person. We do need to be mindful of where that is. One useful feature that I really, really like in this game is that you hold down tab. You kind of get an idea on everything that's going on with the families and the buildings and the constructions and all of that. So for instance, we have 2 families here. They currently have some needs that they need fulfilled, and we can be pretty good with that. So they need an extra thing of food, they need firewood, they need clothing, and they need access to a church in order to level up and be satiated. That is going to fluctuate, as you just saw there. Now, this 1 out of 4 over here in the forager hut, that means that there is 1 person employed out of the possibility of 4. Same thing for our granary. And we can see that they are currently rebuilding that hitching post. They're finally getting around to it. So if we go here, we can see that there's 0 out of 3, meaning that there's no one working here, which can be a little bit of a doozy. That's fine. We don't really have the people for it yet, and that's the kicker. Homelessness will start going away pretty soon, so we'll be good there. Now I am going to, we can see here that our marketplace, has a food stall and has a firewood stall already. Now I do believe the firewood stall is from the storehouse. Maybe, maybe not, because we don't have anyone in the woodcutters area to work that for it. So I'm a little bit confused on where that is, but that's okay. We'll be all right. Nothing to be worried about. We need to figure out what to do though. We currently have 7 berries and 5 bread. They are working the Burgage plots and the garden as mentioned. And so I think kind of what we have to do right now is just chill for a little bit. Again, we only have 10 people out of 36 because we don't have anyone else because our approval rating isn't going up fast enough. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to super fast forward time a little bit, see what happens. And then we're going to hopefully start seeing more people come in and we can address things as they go. But for myself, like if I was playing this not as a tutorial, I would kind of just, there's nothing really else to do unless you just really want to build and expand. But we have a lot of people here. We have space for 1, 3, 4 families, 5 families. We have enough space for 5 families. And that's a lot of space. And that's a lot of space. So we have plenty of extra room for families. That's essentially, at this point, 5 months worth of expansion. And so if you wanted to, we could start building other things, but there's no people to fill them up with. So I don't feel compelled to build right now. And you can totally feel not compelled. That's okay. This isn't an RTS. You don't have to worry about constantly thinking about what to build. You can just kind of sometimes take a big breather. And that's what we're going to do here. All right. Now we do have an aggressive AI Lord. Now we did this on purpose because it allows me to show off a lot of good things. But it looks like our AI Lord boy is taking, what is it? What is he taking? He's taken Eichenhau. So he's taken Eichenhau. Oh, hold on real quick. I have an exploit we're going to do real quick. Just a fun little thing. It's not an exploit, not in like the thing that it could be patched. But he's taken Eichenhau. He's claiming the region. If we wanted to, we could go and roll up against it. But we're not going to because we can't do it. Right now, the AI Lord has quite a few people in his army, and we would not win. So we could resolve the claim on the battlefield. We could use the King's Favor, which is a coming soon feature, or we could negotiate. There's nothing we can do there. But what I'm going to do super duper quick is I'm going to raise my militia and join him. Now, this is something we have to remember is that, why we only have 10? Okay. Is that when we are fighting with him, not against him, we will be able to fight with him. Like, he won't attack us. It's only when we resolve a claim on the battlefield that we will not worry about it. But he's actually already taken out the bandits here. They're all dead. He just hasn't claimed it yet. We're going to be cheeky, and we're going to come in, and we're going to steal the spoils of the bandit camp to be able to work on that. Now, is this... You know what? I think they destroyed that bandit camp too. Again, super cheeky move, but I'm all for this because he won't attack me. And he won't get like upset, at least at this point, if I take it instead of him getting to it. So we're gonna pillage this bandit camp, and we're gonna go over here and pillage that bandit camp. This could not have happened any better for us, and I am all here for it. All right, a new message. When searching through the enemy belongings, you find a stash of goods. They could be sent to your people who surely need them, though it is your right to keep it. We're going to send resources to the nearest town. Our regional wealth increased by 100, and our nearest town is going to be TutorialTown. So we now have 100 wealth. I am then going to go, he's claiming that, so he's not going to be worried about anything else. We're going to go over here, and we're going to steal this bandit camp goods. Oh, this is fantastic. Thank you, AI Lord, for your services. They are greatly appreciated. You can totally take... Oh, and there's another bandit camp. Okay, we're going to try and be incredibly cheeky and take out all 3 bandit camps. All right, our boyos are back, and we have 524 wealth. That is incredible. That's going to allow us to build another vegetable garden. Easy peasy. That's also going to allow us to build a chicken coop, and we're going to go ahead and build a goat shed. Now, there are people living in this one, I do believe. Yes. So that goat shed's going to allow us to passively make hides, which does mean that we're going to go ahead and build a tannery. Oh, we don't have enough goods because we're building other things. That's totally fine. We're going to let that build up just a little bit. And then I do think we're going to have to remove that storehouse so we can build a woodcutter's lodge. And the woodcutter's lodge is the same thing in terms of its limited work area. So I don't tend to overexploit the logging area and the woodcutters in the same space. We're going to have them build a little bit different. Now, they don't chop down nearly as fast as the the logging camp does, but it still provides some good resources for us. And we'll be all well and good here in just a tiny bit. Be right back again. Now, one thing I did kind of forget to mention, and this is a big one. We are currently experiencing people who are way the heck over here. Why are these men way the heck over here? Why aren't they doing their job felling a tree closer to the region in which they are in which I have assigned them? It's because our people were part of the militia. There has to be an emphasis here that your army and militiamen are literally pulled from the people in your region, which means when I employed the 10 militia for however long, had them running around the map like madmen, trying to take advantage of those bandit camps, they were not here doing their job. So we have no timber, and we won't have timber for a while because I've used it up for this stuff, because the militiamen are coming back to their jobs. So be mindful of that. If you forget that your army is deployed, that means those however many men are just chilling, doing nothing, and not being productive in your city, which can cause issues. So be mindful of that your militia, anytime they're deployed, they are literally taking your jobs away from your current economy. So you want to use them as efficiently and as quickly as possible, and then remember that they're there so you can disband them inside of their home region. We are suffering from some issues here, simply because homelessness was still a thing. It's a little bit of a potential bug, but we'll be good in the neighborhood. We're going to wrap things up here in just a little bit, but I want to get all of this running again before we do. All right, so a couple of things. We had another family just move in. Our approval rating is over 51%, which means that one family per month will start moving into TutorialTown. Now, he's already taken Waldbrand, so he is an incredibly aggressive lord. And the downside to that is we won't be able to use an exploit to readily and regularly utilize bandit camps. So we are going to have to get trade up and running. And that's part of the reason why I did this, I'm not going to lie. So we could kind of get that feature running and rocking pretty quick. Now, trading post, again, we're still recovering from our people being in the militia. And so as a result, we don't have enough timber. But what we can do, we can start working on a saw pit. That's going to be great. And one of the really good things that I like about the saw pit is that you can set a construction reserve, which means I want to make sure that we only have 8 timber, that we have at least 8 timber before we start working on a saw pit. That just kind of keeps things a little more efficient. And also as a result, that means that we're going to go ahead and build another hitching post right here. We're going to prioritize that, and it's going to be built. We can order another one because we have more than enough money to do so. And we are going to dedicate a saw pit. We are going to dedicate for sure an oxen to a saw pit, because we need to make sure that happens. And in fact, let's just go ahead and do it. We're going to dedicate it. Livestock is going to be Herman. We're going to order another ox, and you can see they're already cranking out planks like mad. So we're going to upgrade our stables to hold more. And again, I think an overabundance of oxen is not a bad thing. I think it's a really good starting idea and ideology to have more oxen, the better, because it will just ensure that things run a bit smoother in your production, that you're not being clogged up. Yep, we have more than enough storage here, so they can work that. All is well and good. Small stable. Now, we already ordered, you can only order 1 oxen per month. Just fine. That's not a big problem whatsoever. I'm more concerned about adding people to be able to handle the storehouses and things of that nature. Now, you'll see here that we have food enough for 6 months, fuel enough for 3 months, 20 berries. The vegetables do take a while to kind of implement and be harvested, but look at that. Look at all those. Look at all those delicious veggies. I'm all for it. So we're waiting for our last little bit of timber to come in, and then we'll be able to build a trading post where we can work that as well as it can be. All right, we have enough. We're going to build our trading post, and we're going to build our trading post. I don't really know where the best place is. I think we're going to chill right here because that's still a good distance. We're right off the King's Road. I think that'll work really well. There we go. Now, what we're going to do with our trading post is we're going to start trading and figuring out how to export the excess of any goods that we have so that we can start building things up all really well, because the aggressiveness rate in which he's going to start taking on our areas, we are going to have to start building up really, really quick. And that's going to mean doing what we can to make sure that our approval goes up, to maximize the number of people coming in, to really work on exporting and importing things, all of that sort of thing. All right, so we do have trade up and running, and here is your trading post, and this is where we'll kind of wrap up the episode. Sweet, new family started moving in. Perfect timing. So your trade, much like a trading post, functions with storage capacity, employment like we normally see. You can see where they're going, where they're from. We can assign livestock to them. You want to do horses for trading. We aren't going to worry about that at the moment because we can't. But we do see the livestock, and then your trade here. Now, I will say this is still kind of, I think, a little bit of a work in progress. I do believe horses are kind of the go-between between regions, and not necessarily for like trading. Traders will bring their own horses, kind of a deal. I'm still a little unfamiliar with this, just an FYI. But here is your trading department, and you can see here we have loads of goods, from construction to crops to food, crafting materials, commodities, and even military. Military is what we want to focus on a lot. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and establish a trade route. So as you can see here, a route is required, and you have to go and you have to purchase it. So we are going to establish a trade route of war bows, and that means we could import them for 15 gold if we wanted. We could export them for 5 gold. And there is a global market supply that was recently added to kind of counter exploits that people were doing for the game. I took advantage of those. I'll be 100% honest. But we exported tons of war bows and got filthy rich. But anyways, what we can do here is we could say, hey, we have a lot of berries. We're going to go ahead and export those berries. And I want to make sure that I always have 20 berries at home, and that's all I need. Now, we do, again, still need to establish that trade route. We're going to export vegetables, and I'm going to do the same thing. We're going to purchase that trade route. Now, we don't want to go too crazy or too ham, but we do want to make sure that we are making money regularly. And so we can definitely do that. And this is where kind of our next tutorial will go into, This clay deposit is a massive clay deposit. And so if we were to establish this, I'm going to go and do this. It's going to be a lot. But we are going to export for 8 gold per for the time being. We're going to export a lot of roof tiles. We're going to get into industrial things in the next episode because it is pretty important. And as we approach the winter seasons and things of that nature, we're going to kind of build into this new community over here. Because as you can see, there we go. We have a road that we can kind of utilize here. We're going to build another micro community to build up this industrial sector, to build up this wild animal area over here. And all will be good. It'll be awesome. And I'm excited to dig into it. That is going to be the end of today's episode, ladies and gentlemen. We do have a 56% approval rating. It is going up. Homelessness will go away, and we will be fantastic. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. Hope this tutorial series is being very useful to you. If it is, be sure to give the video a like, subscribe to the channel, and also if you want to support and you haven't purchased the game yet, you can go to my Nexus GG store, in which case you will get a perfectly valid Steam key in return for purchasing it, and I get a chunk of a commission. I do believe 40% of the sale price goes to myself as HForHavoc, and that would be greatly appreciated, but never, ever required. Thank you so much once again for hanging out with me in this tutorial for absolute beginners. I'll see you in the next one. See you later.